IBP alerts, 10 things to know. Number 1. What is an IBP alert? An IBP alert is a key figure, usually calculated, that returns a 1 or 0 at the base planning level. It has some superpowers over other IBP key figures, but at the end of the day, it's a key figure with a value of 1 or 0. Let's look at a simple example. Alert no plan price. The purpose of this alert is to tell us whenever we don't have a planned price populated. It's pretty critical since no planned price means wrong revenue numbers. So the simple calculation would be, if planned price is blank, then 1, else 0. Number 2. An IBP alert can be useful. Alerts can have a pretty bad reputation in the supply chain world. They are difficult to design well and learn, so many times someone says alerts and usually people just roll their eyes. Usually it is because the alert is either too sensitive or not sensitive enough. Back to our example. This was our last calculation for alert, no planned price. If planned price is blank, then 1, else 0. In truth, the calculation is a little bit more complex. Basically, because not every product in IBP needs a planned price, for example, raw materials. So the calculation is actually this. If planned price is blank and consensus demand is greater than 0, then 1, else 0. If you don't plan to sell it to a customer, then you don't need a planned price. Here's an example to better explain it. Since the consensus demand is populated and the planned price exists, the alert value is 0. Since the consensus demand is not populated, the alert value is blank, or null. Since the consensus demand is not populated, the alert value is blank, or null, even though the planned price is populated. And finally, since the consensus demand price is populated and the planned price is not populated, the alert value is 1. A small change, but a big impact. Number 3. Knowing the alert planning level is important. Since an alert is a key figure, it is calculated at a base planning level. Getting the planning level correct is a key factor in making the alert useful. Back to our planned price alert. Since planned price is stored at the week, product, location, customer, currency level, and all revenue calculations are at that level, then the base planning level for this alert is also week, product, location, customer, currency. Basically, we want to be notified if we are ever missing a planned price at week, product, location, customer, currency. We will see later when we don't need to want this granular control. So the base planning level is higher. But the purpose of this planned price alert requires this detailed control. Number 4. Finding an alert is easy if you understand the naming standards. We follow a pretty specific naming standard for alerts. One reason is so that alerts are easy to find and understand without going someplace else. Using our planned price alert as an example again, the official IBP name of this alert is alert : no planned price. Doesn't seem that exciting at first, but there's some hidden meaning. All alerts begin with alert : Again, that may not seem that exciting, but it means you can search for all alerts by just typing alert : in the planning view. Here I am in the Edit Planning View screen, Key Figure tab, and I've typed in alert : and all of the alert key figures showed up. Again, any trick to help you navigate the 1,000 plus key figures is important. If the alert begins with no, then you know it's an absolute alert. More on that in a minute. And the relevant key figure for this alert is planned price. So you could type alert : no, and you can see all the absolute alerts. Even though these may be different, although these may be different IBP modules, you can intuitively understand their purpose from the name. For example, no sales order history is pretty self-explanatory from just the name. Extra credit. If you wanted to see just the demand planning or supply planning alerts, the technical naming standard will tell you. This is the alert : no planned price technical name. You can change your planning view settings to see it. Custom key figures always start with a Z, and alerts are always custom. The next two letters denote the module: DP for demand planning, IO for inventory optimization, or SU for supply. The next three characters are always ALT for alerts. If it's an absolute alert, then you'll see no. Followed by the relevant key figure. So long story short, if you just want to see the demand planning alerts, just search for ZDP ALT. If you want to see all the DP alerts that are absolute, then just search for ZDP ALT NO. Number 5. The type of alert is important. Alerts are complex and numerous, so it's easier to understand them if you understand the types. We've already started to talk about absolute alerts. These are the kind of alerts that are unforgiving. It's either there or it's not. So using the planned price example, it's really never okay for the planned price to be missing. Else revenue will be understated. So let's think of types this way. What is the alert type name? Can you maintain a threshold that controls how sensitive the alert is? For example, you probably don't want to be alerted if sales order history is 100 and consensus demand is 101 or just 1% over, but you would care if consensus demand was 200 or 100% over. Uses module-based planning level. Does this alert typically use the standard-based planning level for the module? For example, product location customer for demand, or product location for inventory or supply. You probably don't want to be alerted if SOH is 100 and consensus demand is 200 at the technical week product location shipped to customer level, but you would want to be alerted if you had that difference at, say, the month product location strategic customer level. And then finally, the alert example. What's an example of this alert? Sometimes you can guess what type an alert is just by the name. If it says something like no or refers to a total amount, then it's probably absolute. If it looks like to be dividing by some key figure to another, then it's probably a threshold alert. So for an absolute alert type, absolute alert types by their nature don't allow for any sort of threshold control. The planned price is either there or it's not. You don't care if it's 80% there, it's all or nothing. For an absolute alert, you almost always want the base planning level to be used. Again, for planned price and the way our revenue calculations work, you need a planned price for every single week, product, location, customer for at least one currency. The others will be converted via an exchange rate. Having a planned price for 9 out of 10 of your customers won't cut it. And finally, the planned price is the obvious example we've been using, but just as important to supply planners is the alert no unit cost or alert no BOM. So let's look at another type. Pretend you want to be alerted when the sales order history was way off the consensus demand. That would be alert : SOH divided by consensus demand plan quantity. There's a related alert that does this by lag too, but let's just keep it simple. First, notice the naming standard. Still begins with alert : but instead of no, like an absolute alert, it starts with a key figure, in this case sales order history. Then you will see a slash, which is a dead giveaway that this is a threshold alert. Followed by the other key figure that we are comparing it to. So back to our chart of alert types. So this is what we call a threshold alert, which will become obvious in a moment. Can you control sensitivity with a min-max threshold? Yes. So basically we give you a minimum and maximum threshold to control when the alert is actually fired. Again, you may not care if you were off by 1%, but you would if you were off by 30%. You can control this at a very granular level, but it's easy to maintain at a higher level as well. Uses module base planning level. Normally, threshold alerts are not at the base planning level. For example, sales order history divided by consensus is at the month, product, location, strategic customer level, because we don't really care if we are off at the ship to or the week level, but instead we want to be alerted at a higher level. And again, the name, notice if we did not call this attainment, but rather we are using the actual key figure names. You'll find later that a lot of key figures could be used for attainment, so we're just trying to keep this simple without you having to go look at a glossary that is difficult to maintain. You usually can tell the type by the name itself, but there's always the testing template to tell you. Extra credit. Maintaining thresholds can be complex. Just be aware that each threshold alert is controlled by only one threshold min-max. But not all threshold alerts use the exact same threshold. DP thresholds are usually week, product, location, customer, or week, product, location, strat. Where IO or supply thresholds may be at week, product, location, or weak resource location. You can search for just threshold and all will come up. You can also see by the name which one makes the most sense. Number 6. Threshold alerts also come with another superpower. In order to make threshold alerts work, we had to create an additional key figure. So using alert SOH divided by consensus demand plan quantity as an example again, you will find a key figure called SOH divided by consensus demand plan quantity. Notice the naming standard again. They all start with a percentage sign and a colon, followed by the two key figures. Anyway, this key figure has proven to be quite useful. First, it automatically weights to whatever level you want to calculate it at. Second, you can make some pretty slick charts with it. Here's a chart that shows where SOH versus consensus is bouncing around. In June, sales order history was 132% of consensus demand. But in July, SOH was 35% of consensus demand. We can change the chart around a bit and show which products are doing the best or worst at attainment. With the same key figure and two changes to the chart, we can now show which products had the lowest and highest attainment. This key figure is extremely useful in comparing error, for example, stat versus consensus error. You can quickly see where the stat is outperforming the consensus and vice versa. Number 7. Alerts work on dashboards. You can summarize the alert into a chart and place it in a dashboard. This allows for a quick review of how you're doing. Here you can see that all combinations have a planned price. Number 8. When you roll up alerts, they are simple averages of how many times the alert was fired. Going back to this earlier example. We normally would want to look at this alert at a monthly level, and the answer is 33%. We're saying that 30% of your combinations in January did not have a planned price. This can prove to be a very useful number, and all alerts behave this way, especially when combined with percentage if the alert is a threshold. Number 9. You can filter by alerts. Since alerts are a key figure, you can use the value-based filter to show only alerts that have fired or not fired. Number 10. The complete list of alerts are in a couple of places. IBP is your best bet. Anything that starts with alert : is one. If you hover over the alert in the planning view, you can see its technical details as well. We also list all the alerts by module and their planning level in the monthly release presentations. So for example, here in the last release, we highlight if the alert changed in that release as well. We also denote alerts with a red circle in the Visio document to point out which process they are in. So example here, under the Create Consensus Demand process, you could quickly see that there are 7 related alerts. As always, thanks for watching Practical IBP. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and you should see future videos or continuing videos in the lower right and left corners.